Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the best classic micro consoles out there. You know, those tiny retro gaming systems that bring back all the nostalgia and fun of playing old school games on your TV. From the original NES to the Sega Genesis, we're gonna dive into the top consoles that'll transport you back to the good old days of gaming. So, if you're ready to level up your retro gaming experience, keep it locked in and let's get started on this epic countdown. If you're as excited as we are about today's topic, show some love by liking and subscribing to Retro Pocket for more amazing content. Sega Game Gear Micro. I'm super excited about the first one on the list, the Sega Game Gear Micro. This tiny retro console is a true marvel of engineering. This thing is tiny. We're talking about a console that's roughly the size of a Hot Wheels, measuring in at just 80 by 43 mm. But don't let its small size fool you. This little guy packs a punch. With a 1.15-inch screen and a resolution of 240 by 180, the pixel density is surprisingly sharp, making it easy to see what's going on, even on such a tiny display. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is it really worth playing games on a screen that small? And to that I say, yeah, it's actually pretty cool. The circular D-pad is smaller than a dime, but it's remarkably usable, and the 1 and 2 action buttons, while a little wobbly, are easy to press with precision. Plus, the screen is super bright, with great contrast and viewing angles, making it perfect for playing in a boring classroom. But here's the thing, the Game Gear Micro isn't just one console, it's 4. Each model comes with 4 games, and there are 4 different models to choose from. And if you're feeling extra fancy, you can even get a special magnification accessory, the Big Window, which makes the screen a bit bigger and easier to see. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, is this really worth the money? It depends. If you're a hardcore Sega fan or just looking for a fun little collectible, then yeah, the Game Gear Micro is definitely worth checking out. But if you're looking for a more traditional mini retro console experience, you might want to look elsewhere. On the whole, this tiny device is a delightfully daft product that's sure to bring a smile to the face of any retro gaming fan. It's a true labor of love from Sega, and it's clear that they put a lot of passion and attention to detail into its design. So, if you're looking for something a little different, a little quirky, and a lot of fun, then the Game Gear Micro is definitely worth checking out. PlayStation Classic. This little guy is Sony's nostalgic nod to its groundbreaking original PlayStation, but does it hit all the right notes? Well, it's a mixed bag. First off, the PlayStation Classic is a charming miniaturization of the iconic console, complete with 2 controllers and 20 preloaded games. You get classics like Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, and Metal Gear Solid, which are sure to tug at the heartstrings of any 90s gamer. However, the lineup is missing some heavy hitters like Crash Bandicoot and Tomb Raider, which feels like a missed opportunity for a console that's supposed to celebrate the best of the era. The console itself is a faithful replica of the original, right down to the buttons and logos, but the magic kind of fade when you dive into the games. The visuals haven't aged well, and the lack of visual settings like CRT filters makes the graphics look even more dated on modern screens. Plus, about half of the games are the PAL versions, meaning they might run at a lower frame rate than you remember, which can be a bit of a bummer for those used to the smoother NTSC versions. On the plus side, the PlayStation Classic does a decent job with emulation, and the snapshot save feature is a nice touch, allowing you to pick up right where you left off without any loading screens. But compared to other mini consoles like the SNES Classic, the PlayStation Classic feels a bit bare bones. There's no option to add more games, no online features, and the controllers lack the DualShock's iconic rumble feature, which means you miss out on some of the original's unique gameplay moments. So, is the PlayStation Classic worth it? If you're a diehard PlayStation fan or just want a cute piece of gaming history on your shelf, it might be. But if you're looking for a comprehensive retro gaming experience, you might find it lacking. It's like going to a rock concert and realizing your favorite songs are missing from the set list. Still, for a quick hit of nostalgia, the PlayStation Classic has its charm. Just don't expect it to replace your memories of the original console anytime soon. NES Classic Edition, NES Classic Mini. This one is a classic that has a special place in many hearts. The Nintendo Classic Mini NES. This little gem is like a time machine that takes you straight back to the golden era of 8-bit gaming. This mini console is a spitting image of the original NES, just shrunken down to fit snugly in the palm of your hand. It's like holding a slice of retro gaming, but without the bulk. Now, despite its tiny size, it packs a punch with 30 preloaded games, including legends like Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and Donkey Kong. It's a nostalgia overload that reminds us why these games were so iconic in the first place. But let's keep it real, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The controller cable is notoriously short, so unless you want to relive those childhood days of sitting cross-legged right in front of the TV, you're gonna need an extension. And while we're on controllers, the feel is spot on, just like the original NES, which is great for authenticity, but maybe not so much for modern comfort. One of the coolest features, though, is the save state function. You can save your progress anytime, which is a lifesaver for those brutally difficult levels. But here's the catch, you gotta press the reset button on the console itself to save, which means keeping the console within arm's reach. A bit of a hassle, but hey, it's a small price to pay for reliving those epic gaming moments. Now, let's talk about what this console isn't. There's no internet connectivity, no downloadable content, and no way to expand the game library. What you see is what you get, which is both a blessing and a curse. It's a pure retro experience without the modern frills, which some might find refreshing, while others might miss the ability to add more games. But honestly, if you're picking up the NES Classic Mini, you're probably here for that authentic, no-nonsense trip down memory lane. It's an incredible unit for anyone wanting to relive the glory days of gaming or introduce a new generation to the classics. Just remember to grab an HDMI cable and maybe a controller extension, and you're all set for a retro gaming marathon. Neo Geo Mini. The Neo Geo Mini, a delightful little part of nostalgia that comes with its mini arcade cabinet design. If you're a fan of classic SNK games, this console is a dream come true, featuring 40 legendary titles like Art of Fighting and Samurai Showdown. It's like having your own personal arcade right on your desk. The Neo Geo Mini is not just about the games, it's a tribute to the 90s gaming culture, bringing back the luxury and excitement of the original Neo Geo, which was a high-end console back in its day, retailing for a whopping $650, with games costing between $150 to $300 each. This little console is an eye-catcher with its vibrant packaging and neon-lit joystick, similar to that of the colorful 90s arcade scene. The 3.5-inch LCD screen offers decent viewing angles, making it a neat fit for the Neo Geo's classic 320 by 224 resolution. It's perfect for quick gaming sessions when you need a break from work or just want to relive some arcade magic. However, it lacks a built-in battery, which means you'll need to keep it plugged in, whether to a wall socket or a USB power source. This can be a bit of a hassle if you're looking for a truly portable experience. Plus, the controls could feel a bit lackluster if you're used to the original arcade machines. But hey, for a console that sits comfortably in the palm of your hand, it's a small sacrifice for such a nostalgic experience. So, if you're an SNK fan or just love the idea of having a mini arcade on your desk, this is absolutely for you. It's an amazing conversation starter and a fun way to dip back into the golden era of arcade gaming. Just remember, it's more of a collectible and a quick play device rather than a full-fledged console replacement. Sega Astro City Mini 5. Next one is a compact blast from the past that's all about those classic vertical arcade games. If you like bullet hell shooters, this little guy is a treasure chest packed with 23 vertically oriented titles like Armed Police Batrider, Battle Back Raid, and the legendary Raiden. It's like having a slice of arcade history right on your desk. The V in its name stands for vertical, and it's a nod to the unique lineup of games that focus on that classic arcade feel. This mini arcade cabinet is a 1:6 scale replica of the iconic 1993 Astro City Cab, and while it might not have the flashy artwork of some other retro consoles, it has a sleek, modern look that fits perfectly on any desk. The 4.6-inch display is sharp and bright, offering a decent gaming experience, although it's not quite up to par with today's smartphone screens. You can tweak the visuals with different filters, but the best option is to leave it on none to avoid any unwanted blurring or darkening. The controls are where the Astro City Mini vibe really rocks. It features 6 clicky face buttons and a solid joystick, giving you that authentic arcade feel. However, the joystick's long travel issues can make the controls feel a bit sluggish, which isn't ideal for games that demand quick reflexes. But don't worry, the rubber feet keep the unit steady during intense gaming sessions. One cool feature is the ability to save 2 states per game, which helps offset some of the performance hiccups. Plus, you can pump in endless virtual coins for continues, which is great for casual play, though purists might cringe a little. If you want to take the action to the big screen, there's a 720p HDMI output, but keep in mind that the vertical aspect might not look great on a standard TV unless you have a rotating display. All in all, it is a fun and compact retro gaming unit, especially for fans of vertical shooters. However, it comes with a hefty price tag of £134 4 pence. Especially in the UK, where it feels a bit overpriced compared to other options like the Taito Egret 2 Mini. In the US, it's more reasonably priced at $159.99, making it a worthwhile addition for shooter enthusiasts who can overlook a few quirks. So, if you're ready to zigzag through bullet hell, the Astro City Mini V might just be your ticket to arcade bliss. PC Engine TurboGrafx-16 Mini. This is a console that takes you back to the late 80s and early 90s when gaming was all about vibrant 16-bit graphics and quirky titles. This mini console is a love letter to the original TurboGrafx-16, known as the PC Engine in Japan, and it's packed with a whopping 57 games. That's right, folks, we're talking about classics like Bonk's Adventure, Ninja Spirit, and Wise Book 1 and 2. It's literally a retro arcade in your living room without the need for a stack of quarters. The TurboGrafx-16 Mini is a faithful replica of the original console, although much smaller, and it even includes the iconic TurboPad controller with its signature turbo switches. It's a sturdy little unit that feels well built, and it comes with 2 USB ports so you can easily plug in another controller for some multiplayer fun. The console also features an HDMI output, making it super easy to connect to modern TVs, and the games look surprisingly crisp on a big screen. One of the coolest features of the TurboGrafx-16 Mini is its extensive library of games, which includes both the North American and Japanese titles. This means you get to experience some hidden gems that never made it to the States, like Castlevania, Rondo of Blood, and Snatcher. The interface is slick and easy to navigate, allowing you to switch between the TurboGrafx-16 and PC Engine libraries seamlessly. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: the price. At around $99.99, it's a bit on the pricey side compared to other mini consoles, but considering the sheer number of games and the nostalgia factor, it might just be worth it for die-hard fans. The emulation quality is top-notch with minimal lag and accurate sound reproduction, so you're getting an authentic retro experience. It's perfect for those who want to relive the glory days of 16-bit gaming or discover some classic titles for the first time.
ファミリーコンピュータの楽しいカセット情報
Family Computer Famicom Classic Mini. The Family Computer, or Famicom Classic Mini, is basically Japan's version of the NES Classic Mini. This little console is a nostalgia bomb for anyone who grew up with those iconic days that defined a generation. The Famicom Classic Mini is a tiny replica of the original Famicom, complete with its distinctive red and white design, and it comes preloaded with 30 legendary games. We're talking about classics like Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and Final Fantasy. The Famicom Classic Mini is adorably small, fitting right in the palm of your hand, and it stays true to the original console's look. One of the coolest features is that the controllers are hardwired into the console, just like the original Famicom. This might be a bit of a nostalgia trip for some, but it does mean you're limited by the short cable length, which can be a bit of a bummer if you're used to lounging on the couch. The setup is super easy. Just plug it into your TV via HDMI and you're ready to go. The interface is clean and straightforward, making it easy to scroll through the game library and jump into your favorite titles. One thing to note is that the Famicom Classic Mini is packed with games that were popular in Japan, so you might find some titles that are less familiar if you're used to the NES lineup, but that's part of the fun. It's a chance to discover some hidden gems that never made it to the States. The emulation quality is exactly what it should be, with crisp graphics and authentic sound that capture the essence of the original games. Altogether, it is a fabulous fragment of game for anyone who loves retro gaming. It's a perfect mix of memories and convenience, offering a window into the past with some of the best games ever made. Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro. If you're a fan of SNK's legendary fighting games, this is the gadget for you. The Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro isn't just a controller, it's a console in disguise. This bad boy is packed with 20 classic SNK fighting games, including favorites like King of Fighters and Fatal Fury. It's like having an arcade cabinet at your fingertips. The Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro is a sleek, white monster that pays tribute to the classic Neo Geo aesthetic. It's got a satisfying heft to it, making it feel sturdy, just like the arcade sticks of old. The joystick and buttons are top-notch, offering that authentic clicky feel that fighting game enthusiasts crave. Plus, it doubles as a controller for other consoles, so you can use it with your PC or even your PS4 with the right adapters. It's versatile for those who love a good old joystick mash. Setting it up is a breeze. You can plug it directly into your TV using HDMI, and you're ready to go. One of the best features is the ability to switch between console mode and joystick mode, allowing you to use it as a standalone console or as a controller. It's like having two devices in one. Now, let's talk performance. The emulation quality is solid, with crisp graphics and smooth gameplay that capture the essence of the original arcade experience. However, it's worth noting that the selection of games is focused on fighting titles. So if you're looking for a broader range of genres, you might find it a bit limited, but for fighting game fans, it's a dream come true. The Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro is an outstanding addition to any retro gaming collection. Mega Drive, Genesis Mini 2. The Sega Genesis Mini 2 is a 16-bit mini powerhouse that's sure to hit you right in the feels. This little console is a follow-up to the original Genesis Mini and is based on the Sega Genesis Model 2, which was released back in 1994. The Genesis Mini 2 comes preloaded with 61 games, including legendary titles like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 3, and Echo the Dolphin. It even throws in some Sega CD games like Sonic CD and Final Fight CD, so you're getting a broad spectrum of Sega's golden era. Design-wise, the Genesis Mini 2 is a neat little nod to its predecessor with a sleek look that fits nicely next to the original Genesis Mini. It even has a removable expansion slot door, purely for aesthetics, but it's a fun touch for those who love the details. The console features a standard USB 6-button controller, which is a nice upgrade from the 3-button version that came with the first Genesis Mini. However, the buttons feel mushy and the D-pad isn't much better. It's not terrible, but it doesn't quite capture the quality of the original Genesis controllers. The user interface on the Genesis Mini 2 is pretty much unchanged from the original. It's straightforward and easy to navigate, but the menu music isn't as catchy as before. A cool feature is the ability to change the language settings, which alters the entire experience, from the UI to the game box art. You can switch to Japanese and get a whole new aesthetic, which is a fun way to mix things up. One of the standout features of the Genesis Mini 2 is the inclusion of some previously unreleased games and arcade ports, thanks to the wizards at M2, who are known for their top-notch game preservation work. They've even added quality of life improvements to classics like Phantasy Star 2, making them more enjoyable to play today. Capcom Home Arcade. This isn't just any plug-and-play console, it's a full-on arcade stick setup shaped like the Capcom logo, making it a bold statement piece for any gaming setup. The Capcom Home Arcade is loaded with 16 iconic arcade titles, including fan favorites like Street Fighter II, Hyper Fighting, Final Fight, and Alien vs. Predator. It's a treasure trove for anyone who spent countless hours and quarters at the local arcade back in the day. Design-wise, it's big, it's bold, and it's unapologetically Capcom. The twin-stick setup is perfect for two-player action, with genuine Sanwa buttons and sticks that deliver that authentic arcade feel. The build quality is top-notch, and it's clear that Capcom wanted to create a premium product that does justice to its arcade legacy. The sticks are responsive, and the buttons have that satisfying click that fighting game fans love. However, its size might be a bit much for those with limited space, so make sure you have a good spot to set it up. The user interface is clean and straightforward, making it easy to jump into your favorite games. The emulation quality is excellent, with crisp visuals and smooth gameplay that capture the vibe of the original arcade experience. Plus, there's built-in Wi-Fi for online leaderboards, so you can compete with players around the world and see how you stack up. One thing to keep in mind is the price. The Capcom Home Arcade is on the higher end of the spectrum for mini consoles, which might be a deal-breaker for some. But if you're a die-hard Capcom fan or just love the idea of having an arcade-quality experience at home, it might just be worth the investment. Ultimately, it's perfect for reliving those arcade glory days, gamer looking to perfect your combos, or just someone who loves the feel of an arcade stick. This console delivers a punch of retro energy with every game. A500 Mini? Up next is the A500 Mini, a compact tribute to the iconic Amiga A500, a beloved home computer from the late 80s and early 90s. This mini console is a throwback to Amiga's gaming legacy, but let's be clear, it's more of a gaming console than a full-fledged Amiga computer. If you have fond memories of Amiga gaming, this little device will touch your heart. However, if you were hoping to relive the days of programming or digital art on the Amiga, you might find it lacking. Design-wise, the A500 Mini is a well-crafted replica of the original Amiga A500, complete with simulated LCD lights and cables in the classic beige-white Amiga style. The attention to detail is impressive, and Retro Games Limited has done a stellar job on the aesthetics. The included controller is a bit on the small side, and while the layout might take some getting used to, it does the job. The mouse, though a tad oversensitive, adds to the nostalgic experience with its retro design. Under the hood, the A500 Mini is slightly faster than a Raspberry Pi 3B, making it more than capable of running classic Amiga 68K software. However, it lacks some of the versatility you'd get with a Raspberry Pi setup, like internet connectivity and additional USB ports. It would have been nice to see these features included, but the device does support USB hubs, which is a plus. The A500 Mini comes preloaded with 25 games, including classics like Stunt Car Racer, Worms, and Speedball 2. While the selection is decent, it's missing a few quintessential Amiga titles, likely due to licensing issues. The inclusion of WHD load is a highlight, allowing for expanded game compatibility without the need for floppy disks. However, the lack of support for HDF files might disappoint advanced users. One of the biggest missed opportunities is the absence of the Amiga's serious side. The A500 Mini doesn't include any productivity software, which is a shame given the Amiga's rich history as a home computer. A simple paint program could have added a lot of value and nostalgia for users who remember the Amiga as more than just a gaming machine. Price-wise, the A500 Mini is a bit steep at its RRP of £129.99, especially when compared to more versatile options like the Raspberry Pi 400. However, if you're a die-hard Amiga fan and can find it at a discount, it's a charming addition to your collection. Sega Astro City Mini. This is once again a delightful tribute to the arcade glory days of Sega's iconic cabinets. This mini console is a 1/6 scale replica of the legendary Astro City arcade cabinet, and it's packed with 37 classic Sega arcade games that span from 1984 to 1994. From beat-em-ups like Golden Axe, Revenge of Death Adder, to the iconic Virtua Fighter, this mini console is a treasure for anyone who spent their youth in the arcades. Design-wise, the Astro City Mini is a thing of beauty. The attention to detail is fanatical, with every aspect of the original cabinet meticulously replicated, from the form and artwork to the LED lighting and air vents. It's a desktop arcade that demands attention, and it's perfect for those quick gaming sessions when you need a break from reality. The controls are top quality too, featuring authentic arcade parts that deliver that satisfying, clicky feel we all love. It's a joy to play, whether you're reliving old favorites or discovering hidden gems for the first time. Now, let's talk about the game selection. The Astro City Mini's library is a curated collection of Sega's arcade history, focusing on the evolution of arcade genres like platformers, shooters, beat-em-ups, and puzzles. While it doesn't include every big name you might expect, it offers a fascinating journey through Sega's development over a decade. You'll find classics like Shinobi and Altered Beast, as well as lesser-known titles that showcase Sega's creativity and innovation during the era. However, the Astro City Mini isn't without its quirks. All the games are the Japanese versions, which might be a bit of a hurdle for those unfamiliar with the language. Despite this minor setback, the Astro City Mini offers a unique and nostalgic experience that's hard to beat. Overall, it's perfect for die-hard Sega fans and anyone who wants to relive the arcade glory days. Taito Egret II Mini. Taito Egret II Mini is a fantastic little console. If you remember the original Egret 2 arcade cabinet from 1996, you'll know it was famous for its rotating screen and Taito's impressive library of games. This mini version is a near-perfect replica, complete with its own rotating screen and a lineup of 40 pre-installed games. It's a slice of arcade history on your coffee table. The Egret 2 Mini is a marvel. It weighs just a couple of pounds and stands about 8.5 inches tall, making it compact enough to fit anywhere. The joystick and buttons, although scaled down, mirror the original cabinet's layout, offering a solo play experience that's both authentic and satisfying. The 5-inch 4:3 display, with a resolution of 1024 by 768, is surprisingly large for the unit's size, and the rotating screen is a game-changer for titles like Rayforce, which look amazing in their intended vertical orientation. The build quality of the Egret 2 Mini is solid, with a sturdy frame that feels durable. It's wrapped in hard plastic, so while it can probably survive a minor fall, it's best to keep it safe. Around the back, you'll find modern conveniences like USB ports for extra controllers, HDMI output, and a USB Type-C port for power. There's even an SD card slot for additional games, although swapping between the built-in games and those on the SD card requires a restart, which is a minor inconvenience. The game selection is a highlight, featuring classics like Darius Gaiden and Puzzle Bobble. The inclusion of save states and rapid-fire options are great modern touches that enhance gameplay. However, there are some drawbacks, like the lack of a volume dial and the fact that many games are in Japanese, which could be challenging for non-Japanese speakers. Additionally, there's some controversy over the inclusion of the Ninja Kids due to its outdated and offensive depictions. In essence, the Taito Egret II Mini is definitely worth checking out. It's perfect for those who want to relive the arcade experience with a touch of modern convenience. Mega Drive Genesis Mini. This little console is a follow-up to the original Genesis Mini and is based on the Sega Genesis Model 2, which was released back in 1994. It's like a time machine that whisks you away to the days of classic gaming. The Genesis Mini 2 comes preloaded with 61 games, including legendary titles like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 3, and Echo the Dolphin. It even throws in some Sega CD games like Sonic CD and Final Fight CD, so you're getting a broad spectrum of Sega's golden era. The Genesis Mini 2 is a neat little nod to its predecessor with a sleek look that fits nicely next to the original Genesis Mini. It even has a removable expansion slot door purely for aesthetics, but it's a fun touch for those who love the details. The console features a standard USB 6-button controller, which is a nice upgrade from the 3-button version that came with the first Genesis Mini. However, the controller itself is a bit of a letdown. The buttons feel mushy, and the D-pad isn't much better. It's not terrible, but it doesn't quite capture the quality of the original Genesis controllers. The user interface on the Genesis Mini 2 is pretty much unchanged from the original. It's straightforward and easy to navigate, but the menu music isn't as catchy as before. One of the standout features of the Genesis Mini 2 is the inclusion of some previously unreleased games and arcade ports. The Sega Genesis Mini 2 is a solid addition. It's packed with a diverse lineup of games and offers a nostalgic experience that's hard to beat. SNES Classic Edition SNES Classic Mini. If you grew up in the 90s, this console is like a time machine that takes you back to the era of 16-bit gaming. The SNES Classic Mini is loaded with 21 of the most iconic games ever made, including Super Mario World, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and Donkey Kong Country. It's like having an entire arcade in your living room, minus the quarters. The SNES Classic Mini is a perfect replica of the original Super Nintendo, just shrunken down to fit in the palm of your hand. It's got all the nostalgic details from the classic gray and purple color scheme to the power and reset buttons. The controllers are spot-on replicas of the originals too, with the same feel and button layout that made the SNES a legend. And guess what? You get 2 controllers right out of the box, so you can jump into some multiplayer action with your friends. Setting up the SNES Classic Mini is a breeze. Just like many on this list, plug it into your TV via HDMI and you're ready to roll. The user interface is clean and intuitive, making it easy to scroll through the game library and dive into your favorites. The game selection on the SNES Classic Mini is top-notch, covering a wide range of genres from platformers and RPGs to action and puzzle games. It even includes the previously unreleased Star Fox 2, which is a real treat for fans and collectors. The emulation quality is superb, with vibrant graphics and authentic sound that capture the essence of the original games perfectly. While the SNES Classic Mini is almost perfect, it does have a couple of minor drawbacks. The controller cables are a bit short, like a couple of consoles on this list, but hey, that's a small price to pay. All in all, the Super NES Classic Edition is a remarkable element of retro vibe to relive your childhood memories. Commodore 64 Maxi. Also known as the C64, a full-size tribute to the legendary Commodore 64 that ruled the home computing scene in the 80s. If you're a fan of retro computing, this console is a must-see. Unlike its predecessor, the C64 Mini, which was a compact version with a non-functional keyboard, the C64 Maxi brings back the full-size keyboard experience, making it feel like a genuine blast from the past. The C64 is a spot-on replica of the original Commodore 64. It captures all the nostalgic details from the iconic beige casing to the pleasantly spongy keys that are a joy to type on. It's not just about looks, though. The keyboard is fully functional, which means you can dive into some classic, basic programming or enjoy text-heavy games without a hitch. This makes it a fantastic tool for anyone looking to revisit the early days of personal computing. Under the hood, the C64 is essentially an emulator, running on modern hardware to flawlessly replicate the original Commodore 64 experience. This means you can enjoy a library of 64 pre-installed games, ranging from classics like Boulder Dash and California Games to lesser-known gems like Bear Bover. The game selection is a mix of hits and misses, so having a bond with the era definitely enhances the experience. But don't worry if you're not familiar with all the titles. The C64 supports USB sticks, allowing you to load additional ROMs and expand your gaming library significantly. One of the standout features is the improved joystick. Unlike the clunky version that came with the C64 Mini, this one is a micro switch stick, offering a delightful clicky feel and responsive control. It's perfect for navigating those pixel-perfect jumps and tight corners in your favorite games. However, if you're expecting compatibility with original hardware like tape drives or cartridges, you'll be disappointed, as the C64 is strictly an emulator with USB support. Broadly speaking, the Commodore 64 Maxi is an excellent bit of retro tech that captures the vibe of the original while offering modern conveniences. Snk Neo Geo X. This one aims to capture the magic of the original Neo Geo, a system that was legendary but notoriously expensive back in the day. The Neo Geo X is like a love letter to those who longed for the arcade-quality experience at home but couldn't afford the hefty price tag of the original AES console. Released under license by Tomo, this device promises to deliver the Neo Geo experience in a more accessible format, but does it live up to the hype? Design-wise, the Neo Geo X is a slick piece of kit. It's about the size of a PS Vita with a rubberized back for better grip, making it comfortable to hold during those intense gaming sessions. The micro-switch joystick is a standout feature similar to that of the Neo Geo CD controller, and it provides precise control with a satisfying click. However, be warned, it's loud enough to turn heads if you're playing in public. The console comes preloaded with 20 classic Neo Geo titles, including gems like Metal Slug and Samurai Showdown 2, but also some less memorable ones like Cyber Lip. Unfortunately, the Neo Geo X isn't without its flaws. The 480 by 272 display is a major letdown, with washed-out colors and poor viewing angles that don't do justice to the vibrant 2D visuals of the original games. The decision to use a 16:9 screen for 4:3 games results in a stretched and distorted image, which is a head-scratcher. Battery life is pretty decent, offering about 3 to 4 hours of gameplay, which limits its portability but gets the job done. However, the docking station designed to mimic the original AES console is a nice touch. On the whole, the Neo Geo X has its heart in the right place, aiming to bring the Neo Geo experience to a wider audience. It falls short in several critical areas. For those truly wanting to relive the Neo Geo glory days, a second-hand AES console might still be the better option. Retron 5. Retron is all about bringing your classic game cartridges into the modern age. If you're a collector of original cartridges, this console is a game changer. The Retron 5 is like a Swiss Army knife for retro gamers, supporting a wide range of systems including NES, SNES, Genesis, Game Boy, and even Famicom, all in one sleek package. And if you grab Hyperkin's 3-in-1 adapter, you can expand that lineup to include Game Gear and Sega Master System games too. Design-wise, the Retron 5 is a bit of a chunky beast, but it's got a certain charm with its functional design. It features 5 cartridge slots on top, each labeled for the different systems, and a front-loading slot for Game Boy games. The console comes with a wireless controller that has a modern design, but if you're a purist, you can plug in your original controllers thanks to the ports on the sides. This flexibility is a huge plus for those who want the authentic feel of the original hardware. One of the standout features of the Retron 5 is its ability to upscale your games to 720p via HDMI, so you can enjoy your favorite classics on modern TVs without the hassle of old-school AV cables. The console also offers a range of visual options including scan lines and smoothing filters, allowing you to customize the look of your games to your liking. And let's not forget the built-in cheats and save states, which will surely come handy. However, some users have reported issues with certain cartridge slots being finicky, requiring a bit of jiggling to get them to read properly. The controller ports can also be a bit temperamental, especially if you leave controllers plugged in for extended periods. Despite these minor setbacks, the convenience of having multiple systems consolidated into one unit makes the Retron 5 a worthwhile of your cash. Overall, the Hyperkin Retron 5 is an awesome option for anyone looking to breathe new life into their retro gameplay. Atari Flashback 8 Gold. And finally, there is Atari Flashback 8 Gold, a console that brings the classic Atari 2600 experience right into your living room. If you're an Atari enthusiast or just someone who loves the charm of vintage gaming, this console is a fantastic way to relive the golden age of video games. The Atari Flashback 8 Gold comes packed with 120 built-in games, including iconic titles like Adventure, Combat, Night Driver, and Space War. It's like having an entire arcade in a single box ready to plug and play. The Flashback 8 Gold is a sleek nod to the original Atari 2600, complete with those classic wood grain accents that scream retro. The console is compact and lightweight, making it easy to set up and store. One of the standout features is the inclusion of 2 wireless joysticks, which use 2.4 gigahertz technology for a more reliable connection compared to the infrared controllers of previous models. This means you can enjoy your games without the hassle of cords or line-of-sight limitations. And for those who love the feel of the original hardware, there are ports to connect wired joysticks and paddle controllers. The Flashback 8 Gold also steps up its game with modern conveniences like 720p HDMI output, allowing you to connect to modern TVs with ease. This is a huge improvement over the old RCA composite connections, offering a clearer picture while maintaining the original 4:3 aspect ratio. Plus, the console includes features like pause, save, and rewind, which are surely useful for a bit of trial and error. However, it's important to note that the Flashback 8 Gold doesn't support original Atari cartridges, so you're limited to the pre-installed games. While the selection is impressive, some fans might miss the ability to play their personal collection of cartridges. Additionally, while the emulation quality is generally good, it may not perfectly capture the feel of playing on an original Atari 2600, especially for purists. In general, the Atari Flashback 8 Gold is a great option for anyone looking to enjoy classic Atari games without the need for vintage hardware, without much thought. Alright folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the best mini classic consoles. Whether you're a die-hard retro gamer or just curious about the golden age of gaming, these mini consoles bring back fond memories in a tiny package. From the pixel-perfect adventures on the SNES Classic to the arcade thrills of the Neo Geo Mini, there's something here for everyone. So, dust off your old favorites or discover new classics and let these mini marvels transport you back in time. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more retro gaming goodness. Until next time, happy gaming!